I'm Kathy Kozlik. I'm the Dean of the College of Business and Professional Studies. And so during my 20 years at Castleton State College, then Castleton University, now BTSU, I've seen so many of our business alums do some great things out in the world and make a difference in the world. And there's no better example of an alum is the one that I'm introducing to you today, Libby Duane Adams, who was Chief Advocacy Officer and co-founder of Alteryx. So she'll probably tell you more about Alteryx, but I'll tell you it's a strategic analytics software company that has been around for a while, and they have as part of their customers little places like Walmart, McDonald's, AT&T, you know, those small little places that she's worked with. From the beginning, Libby and her co-founders recognized the potential to revolutionize the analytics industry in creating software that combines powerful data tools with an agile, affordable, and easy-to-use interface. Before founding Alteryx, she built her career in sales and account management, working with major clients. She was at strategic mapping at Donnelly Marketing Services, and she drove national sales growth and guided verticals for specific product development. Libby has demonstrated how innovation, perseverance, and vision can create lasting change in both business and technology. So please join me in welcoming Libby Duane Adams, a trailblazer in analytics and a Castleton alum.
Thank you, Kathy, very, very much. I hope I can live up to that introduction. But it's great to be here with all of you today, and thank you very much for your time. Let me give you just a little bit more about my background, because like all of you, I've sat in these presentations and I always wonder a little bit more about the speaker and what gives them the right to be standing here in front of you talking. As Kathy said, I am a graduate of Castleton. I knew Castleton as Castleton State College, and fondly refer to it now as Castleton University. I was a business major, graduated with a 4-year degree in business administration from Castleton. Before college, I am a native of Long Island, born and raised on Long Island. I am one of 5 children. I'm actually the middle of 5 children, 2 older sisters, 2 younger brothers. And my 2 brothers and I followed in our father's footsteps as entrepreneurs, starting our own businesses. And growing up on Long Island, very close to New York City, I thought, okay, someday I'm probably going to work in New York City. And that's exactly what happened. Upon graduating from Castleton in May of '84, before probably most of you were born, I graduated from university and ended up landing my first job in New York City. Spent 5 years in New York City working. And after about 5 years with a 3-hour commute each day, I said, there's got to be a better way. Ended up landing a job up in Stamford, Connecticut. And that job in Stamford, Connecticut actually took me to California. I've spent the last probably close to 30 years in California, at which time my husband and I made a decision to move to beautiful Colorado, which is where I'm joining you from today. You can see there's a theme with me about the mountains, and that definitely is part of who I am. A little bit more about the journey. When I moved to California, I moved there and met my future business partner. Didn't know that was what that was going to become, but Dean and I worked together at a company, Donnelly Marketing Information Services. I got into the data business early in my career. In fact, my first job was in the data business. I had no idea that data would become what it has become. It is the foundation of what probably a lot of you do, because every moment that we all spend on our phones, I can't find my phone at the moment. Every moment that we spend on our phones, we're generating data. And so it really is the foundation of everything that we do. And it doesn't matter what field you're in currently, if you're an employed individual or if you're a student. I don't care what field any of you are thinking about majoring in or you're already majoring in, it's all about data. And that was the foundation of my career, not knowing that when I graduated from university. But in early January of 97, Dean and I decided to leave perfectly good paying jobs and try something on our own. And we said there must be a better way to make data accessible to business users who are not coders, so that those business users can answer questions without waiting for someone to code them an answer. And that was the genesis of Alteryx, is making software easy to use, easy to access, to be able to analyze data, to answer business questions, whether it's where are my customers coming from, or in the healthcare field, where is our supply of pharmaceuticals coming from? Or if you're a manufacturer, where is the assembly plant needing to ship as cars are rolling off the line? And I worked with a number of the automotive manufacturers. And so it's all about being able to answer business questions. That's really the foundation. So in January of 97, as I said, we walked out of perfectly good paying jobs to start Alteryx. But what was unique about us was when we founded Alteryx in January of 97, we had no software, we had no customers, and we put our own money in to start the company. We didn't go out and raise money from someone else, from a venture capital fund or anything like that. We did it with our own money. So we ran the business like a true business, which was when we got paid by a client, we could make a hire. When we got paid by another client, we could invest in marketing or invest in a software developer or invest in other parts of the business. And that was really the foundation of how we got started. Fast forward, in January 97, we started. We kept the business running as a self-funded business up until 2011. 2011, we began raising money because we knew we were onto something. Because customers kept saying to us, I love your software. Your software allows me to do things I could never do before. And that gave us the ability to then raise money. Over the course of the next 5 years, we raised about $163 million. And in March of 2017, we went public on the New York Stock Exchange. And we went public and we were about a $40 million company. So we were not one of these behemoth companies that go public. I think about one of the ones that I'm following today is Andril out of Southern California. Their market cap is ridiculous in the billions, and they're still privately held. So we went public in March of 2017. And all through this journey, we kept growing, we kept focused on technology, we kept focused on advancing our customers. And in March of 2024, we had the privilege of taking the company private and selling the company for $4.5 billion. And as Kathy had mentioned, working with such customers as Ford Motor, Walmart, Vodafone, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of others, all over the world. We had users in 90 countries around the world. We have over 600,000 users that are all part of the Alteryx community, which is an online platform that any of you are welcome to join. It's free and it's open. But at the end, it's all about making a difference. And people will often ask me, what was the biggest opportunity that you saw with Alteryx? And it really was about making a difference. For me, let me start with something that's really simple but profound. Success without a purpose is just noise. And for all of you that are students, as future leaders, you have a responsibility to ask yourselves every time you're doing something, whether it's professionally or personally, ask yourself, am I making a difference? Not just in your job or in the work that you're doing. I see some of you might be dressed for hockey practice, or you're coming out of hockey practice. But ask yourself if you're making a difference every day, whether it's in your company or your shareholders or your teammates or your coworkers or your classmates. It's about your community. And whether you're someday when you graduate, whether you're launching your own business, whether you take a path in finance or marketing or operations, aim for something that's higher than just profits. Measure your impact, not just in dollars, and that's easy to measure when you're a salesperson, to measure in dollars, but measure it in the number of lives that you touch and the problems that you help to solve, because that's how your legacy begins, and that's how a legacy lasts. And people will often ask me, they'll say, well, when you started the company, did you plan to go public? The absolute quickest response that I will give you is absolutely not. My vision, and I'll speak for my two business partners as we were starting, we just didn't want to fail. We just didn't want to let our customers down. We didn't want to let our families down. The journey that we were on, the opportunity to go public, revealed itself at the right time. It never revealed itself back in the early 2000s or even the mid 2000s. And luckily we didn't, because the '08 crash, probably most of you are too young to remember that. But the '08 crash would have not been a good thing for us as a public company. And so timing is everything. And also remember that your career journey is not a ladder, because people will often say to me, how did you get to be the co-founder of Alteryx? How did you get to be the chief customer officer and the chief advocacy officer? Asking me that question as though I dropped out of the sky into those roles. I didn't. It's a journey. Your career journey is not a ladder. You're not going to go straight to the top. Think about it as a jungle gym. You're going to take different paths to get to where you are. Some of those paths will be up. Some of those paths will be down. They'll be side to side. And then eventually you'll move on to moving up. The other thing that I want to get real about for a moment is mistakes. Because in your life and maybe in my life, that's not something that people want to talk about. But let's get real, because every single one of us has made mistakes, and we're going to continue to make mistakes. You're going to mess up a deal. You're going to mess up a job interview. You're going to miss a deadline. You're going to screw up a budget somehow. You're going to miss a big opportunity, whatever it is. And that's good. Making mistakes is a good thing. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failures are part of success. And all of you know, all of you who are students, you say to yourself when you come out of that exam, gosh, I should have studied harder. You made a mistake. You didn't choose to study. You didn't make the time. You chose to go to a party, whatever it is. Make that mistake, learn from it, and only make it once. I can't emphasize that enough. I'll also say, if you're not making mistakes, and I'm not just talking about those of you in school, in work as well, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. You're not challenging yourself, and you're not challenging the borders or the boundaries that you're working within. So my word of advice is to fail fast learn faster, and keep moving forward. Because as I said just a moment ago, failure is not the opposite of success. It helps drive that success that you're going to have. And then one other thing that I'll say is measure the value that you're bringing and define what those values are. So let me ask you all to think about something, whether it's your career in school or your work career, for those of you that are in the workplace today. Are you solving meaningful problems? Are you making processes better? Are you helping others grow? Those are the kinds of things that business leaders and potentially your current boss, or maybe you are a boss and you've got people reporting to you, or you're a student that's going to be joining interviews at graduation. Think about those things. The opportunity to be able to make a difference is all within all of you. And that's by creating value. And so ask yourselves if you're creating value, because the value that you bring is the reputation that you have. And that's what's going to carry you forward, no matter what career path you choose to take. Last thing I'll say, two last things, is when you win, you want to be able to celebrate. And looking at the hockey team and the football team, you know what celebration is all about. Pop that champagne, call your parents, share your story because you've earned it.
I'll give you a good example. One of the things that we were talking about prior to our game team was what the stakes.
We ask for people to mute if you're not on camera. Sorry, Libby.
Yeah, I didn't know if somebody had a question. Well, I'm happy to take questions.
Okay. Sorry.
No worries at all. But as I talk about winning and success, don't let that go to your head, because all of you that have been part of success, whether it be a team sport, whether it be individual success, success is a moment in time. It is not a permanent state. Stay humble, stay curious, and always remember that the higher you climb, whether it's a corporate ladder or a career opportunity or with your family, the higher you climb, the more important it is that you lift others up with you. You know what it's like to lift your teammates. You know what it's like to work as a group. That's what our workforce is all about, is bringing those people with you. And then the last thing I'll say is the education that you're earning today as part of this seminar that we've attended, or whether it's in university, or whether you're taking your own courses online, that education that you're earning doesn't mark the end of learning. It's simply the beginning. The world is evolving way too fast for any of us to be comfortable and say, let me sit back, I don't need to learn anymore. What you know will get you in the room. What you learn next is going to keep you there. Because if you don't keep growing in those jobs, in those careers, in those industries that you want to be in, you will not be invited to stay in the room. Invest in yourself, read broadly, take courses, stay curious. I'm listening to podcasts all the time now that I have the time to. And I'll say some of the most successful people that I know are relentless learners, constantly reading, constantly listening to others, constantly thinking about what's next. And so as I think about all of you, let me summarize for you. Take risks, be kind, stay humble, keep learning, don't be afraid of data, and never forget where you started from. Because the world doesn't need more people who think they know everything. It needs more leaders, the kind that make a difference. And that's the sign of a solid leader, is someone who makes a difference. So with that, Kathy, I want to stop and I want to take questions from anyone who wants to either have a question, or if you have a thought on something that we've talked about so far.
Yeah, I actually have a question for you. So did you know when you were in Castleton, did you know immediately that you were gonna go and work in New York City, or did you like think that like plans were gonna change while you were in the university? Like, did you just know that was something that you wanted to do right away?
Thank you, Bobby, very much for the question. The New York City connection was because where I grew up. I grew up on Long Island, and believe it or not, I will say it was kind of ingrained in me as a child, and I'll say the same for my four siblings. It was always talked about that you go to work in New York City. And so I went into the city. My two older sisters also worked in the city. My two brothers didn't do it. They did their own thing. And so it was an opportunity for me, because I was obviously right there. But after 5 years, I said, I've had enough of this. This 3-hour commuting thing is not the life I want to lead. And so I had enough under my belt to be able to take a job elsewhere.
Right. But you
Yeah,
were a business major when you were at Castleton, right?
correct.
And you think that like the best opportunities for someone pursuing that major would be in like a city, like obviously in a city form, right? Like, cause that's just where like everything's at for like everybody in a business form, right?
Um, yes, but also don't measure the size of New York as a city.
Right.
I mean, because I've been in 46 states across the US, and I've done business. I think about our work with Walmart in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Right.
Fayetteville, Arkansas would never have been on my radar when I was in school like you are now.
Definitely.
But businesses are happening everywhere in the world. And so New York is not the only city.
Definitely.
But the opportunities are amazing when you head to a more densely populated area.
For sure. For sure. Well, thank you very much. You've answered my questions. I appreciate
Where are
it.
you from?
I'm from Manchester, New Hampshire, but all of my family's from Manhattan, the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So yeah, I know a little bit about this. I actually want to work in the city, like either there, Chicago, or I love the city. It's a lot different than this place, but I'll find my way there at some point.
Very different than Castleton,
Yeah.
Vermont. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. We all appreciate it very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Libby, can you talk a
see a
little bit
hand.
about,
Some questions on
oh,
Castleton.
there's the
Hockey player.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for your time again. Just my question is, do you have any quick advice for those that are older about to go into like job or grad school interviews, and like what they can bring to kind of make yourself stand out a bit more, or like make a difference in the interview itself? Yeah.
Yes. Good luck with are you graduating in May?
Yeah.
Great. So make sure you beef up your LinkedIn profile. Talk about the experiences that you've had working. Don't just list, the job and the title and the company you worked for. Talk about what you did in those jobs, what skills you developed, what contributions you made to a team or a company. Those are the things that are going to set you apart. The other thing that I'll say is if you have software experience, and Kathy talked about the Alteryx software, people are looking to hire students who come with software skills already in place, because nothing is more frustrating to a hiring manager in any career than to hire someone and get really excited about them joining the team, and then you've got to wait for 3 or 6 months for them to learn some software or learn a process. Those kinds of skills that you already have that you may have used in school or developed while you were in school, put those also on your LinkedIn profile, because that's how recruiters are going to find you. And then the last thing I'll say is networking. I always say this, and I still have people tell me this today. The way that they're landing jobs is through friends of their parents. Don't rely on your parents to get you networked to their friends who are going to land you a job. My point is, don't try to be a hero and say, I've got to do this all by myself. Take advantage of people that you know, people that you meet. There's lots of business people that I can see in the room today. Get to know them, understand more about their backgrounds. So networking, I'll say, is really, really valuable. I will be very honest. I landed my very first job through a friend of my parents. He made an introduction to me into somebody in his organization, and I had to land the job from there. So don't think your parents are going to get you the job, because that's not what I'm saying. Just meeting people any way you can is really, really valuable. Another question back there.
I got one.
Yes.
Well, first off, thanks again for doing this. It's great to see you again. But when I was coaching, we used to talk to student athletes and recruits about the job they will end up with doesn't exist yet. And
Right.
you're kind of living proof of that. Can you speak to that a little bit about that continued learning and how you found a job that really didn't exist when you were in school?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the question. Yeah, when I started at a company in New York City, with the address of the building, I can still remember it like it was yesterday, 19 West 44th Street. It was all about data. Did I have any idea back in the mid 80s that data was going to become what it is today? Absolutely not. But I followed a course. It wasn't so much about the data as it was, what are the things that I'm doing in the job? Started as a customer service representative, worked my way into account management, worked my way into a sales role, worked my way into, probably I kind of gave you the short version, starting my own company. And in that, a tech company, Alteryx is a software company, but I'm on the business side. I was on the sales side. I was on the marketing side. I was on the customer side of the business. And to your question, I remember when 2011 at Alteryx, I stepped into the role of Chief Customer Officer. Now, back then in 2011, that was not a standard job title at all. But I read a book called Chief Customer Officer, and I was like, this is me. I stepped into that role. I carried that role for Alteryx for 11 or 12 years. Carried it all the way through our IPO as the company was growing. And so to your question, it's about following what you're passionate about, because the last thing, the thing I find most discouraging is when I hear people say, I hate my job. The first thing I say to them is, go find something else to do. Find something you're passionate about. Because if you hate your job, that's just miserable, because you're not going to want to do it. I say 40 hours a week. I know I never worked 40 hours a week, but if you're doing it for the lion's share of your life, you better love what you do. So find something that you're passionate about. And that helped me kind of create my career path as I was growing and maturing in the work world.
Thank you.
And you're absolutely right. What you start out in that first job, and I'm thinking about that gentleman in the hockey team, on the hockey team that asked the question, that first job, please don't be afraid of it, because you're probably not going to be doing it in 5 years, or you will have advanced yourself into other roles. And so don't be afraid of that first job. You've got to land it. You've got to get that experience. And I know landing that first job is hard. It's a real catch-22. So, other questions? Yes.
Hi, thanks for coming to talk to us today again. I had a question about Alteryx being a data company. What's been your experience like utilizing AI? and where do you see that going in the future?
Jacob, thank you very, very much for the question. And there's probably not a conversation that I have that people do not immediately zero in on AI. AI has been around for a very long time, and it will continue to grow and scale. That technology, think of AI as a technology, because Alteryx is also, we're a technology company enabling analytics powered by data. And so when you think about AI as a technology journey. And I often will use my phone as the example. Most of you that are on this call have grown up with these things in your pocket. You've got answers at your fingertips, literally. This iPhone, which I think they're releasing iPhone 17 sometime this quarter. When the first iPhone came out in 2008, 9, something around there, it didn't do all these things that this does today. AI is on that same journey. It is going to change the way we live. It will change the way we work. It will change the way and improve the way we function as humans. What I will say wholeheartedly is that it is not going to replace the human. It is going to take the mundane work that a lot of us, I can speak for myself, have had to do and eliminate it. Let's let the data do the mundane. Let's put my brain power on something that's more critical, that hasn't been thought about yet. That's where I see AI going, Jacob, is it will improve our lives, just as these devices have improved our lives. It will improve our lives. It will change the way we function and operate. It is here to stay because data is here to stay. AI is not going to go away. It will continue to evolve and it will continue to grow. So,
Thank you.
and don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question.
Are there any, we've got a couple of minutes left. Are there any final, Larry, did you have a question?
Larry Purcell, president of the Castleton Alumni Association. First of all, just a statement, Libby just mentioned about networking. And so a week from this evening, in the 1787 room at the campus center, there are approximately 25 alumni coming back to that event who have been successful, is not extremely successful in their fields. And it is a networking opportunity for seniors to come over and sit down and talk to them. And we have found out recently that several seniors have actually got employment and going to that event. It's not a job fair, but it's networking. They come from all different fields. So that's a good opportunity for you guys to come over, and it's all planned and it's up to you, the seniors, to show up to that and get the word out, but it's well worth the opportunity. And we give out gift cards and lots of different kinds of swag. So, and we're going to feed you. So hopefully you'll show up. And then Libby, my son's in the same field as you are. He's a senior executive vice president for strategies. They're over in 40 countries. And he's the creative part of it, of coming up with software for collecting and analyzing data. Couple times a year, he goes over to China. He has all his software engineers over there are women. And he said they pretty much, in most times, carry the company because they're so great. But one of his comments the first time he came back, he said the country is out on top of collecting and analyzing data, but pretty much control the world. And so my question is, do you see that threat from China of the future?
Thank you, Larry, very much for the question. And I don't see that threat from China. I do see a competition with China because they are they're working hard just like we're working hard. And then these are the podcasts actually that I listen to, is other tech leaders talking about what they're seeing, what they're feeling, what they're investing in. And so the investments that we're making as a business industry, as a government, the amount of money, I'll use just one quick example, the amount of money going into data centers now to support AI now and in the future, we've got to have those data centers in place to be able to move the data that needs to be powering AI models. And so, kind of long story short, the opportunity that we have as a country is our willingness to work hard, our willingness to invest, which is what our government is doing now in these data centers, and for business leaders also to invest in these data centers. And so we have this opportunity to not let other countries pass us by and get out in front of us in these new markets, because this whole conversation around data centers and AI, everyone thinks this is new. I've been talking about data centers since my first job in New York City. The data center that we worked within at that time was in Nevada, Iowa. Yes, it's about this big. And so data centers and AI are not new. It's just now it's all the rage, it's all the conversation. That will die down, but just because it dies down out of the media doesn't mean that investments by government and industry has waned at all. I don't see the investment in this waning anytime soon. And so what your son is seeing for his business, for his company coming out of China, I applaud them for doing work in China, because we as a company chose not to, because of a security problem that China has of stealing intelligence from software companies. And so we chose not to do business in China. That being said, a lot of our clients, though, are using our technology in China because they do business there. The likes of Ford, the likes of PwC and Deloitte, all of those big consulting firms all have footholds in China. And so our technology is used there. So it's a very opportunistic time for the US to continue investing the way that we have to invest. Going back to Jacob's question, in AI and in all of the periphery, data centers being one of those, we have to invest in those. We are investing very heavily, not only in US-based data centers, but also global data centers. Just not in China or Russia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. I thought it would be, we're at our time, but I thought it would be good if those who are on Zoom who are not revealing themselves, if you would quickly turn your camera on so you can give Libby a round of applause and she can see you. That's great.
Thank you.